Welcome to GSA TV from German Speakers Association. My name is Siegfried Hader, and I'm very proud to present to you three personalities from the International Speaker Associations. First of all, the president of the Global Speaker Federation, Lindsay. Welcome.
Thank you, Siggy.
Secondly, Roger Harrop from the Professional Speakers Association in the UK.
Nice to be
Welcome.
here.
And Mike Rayburn from the National Speakers Association in the US. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Lindsay, you're the president of the Global Speakers Federation, and you have seen many speakers worldwide. What would you say are the most important criteria if you say to someone, you are a great speaker?
You know, I think the three things, to make it really short, if I see a great speaker, they show passion. They're really passionate about their topic. They bring content, so that there's something useful to take away from the presentation. And the absolute best is then underpin that or overlay that with humour. So passion, content, humour. If I see that on stage, I'm hooked. I'm sold.
And I think it's the humor, or I would say, in addition to that, the ability to connect. I mean, it's that passion is part of that.
Sure.
The passion does that, and the humor does that. But it's that if they can just connect with me, then I feel like they got it.
So how do you get this connection?
By being good, by being passionate, and by being believable, by being authentic, so that people realize, hold it, he's not just making this up. He's not just saying this. He or she is living this.
And it helps, doesn't it, Mike, to be self-deprecating on occasions.
Absolutely.
You know, you're not God up there. You don't know it all. And a bit
Absolutely.
self-deprecating, I think, really
Okay.
helps.
Mike, you're not only a speaker in the US and worldwide, you have filled the Carnegie Hall in New York many times. You are a great guitar player, and you showed this here at the GSA convention.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Great, he's excellent.
He is outstanding.
Thank you.
How important for you is it as a guitar player to prepare and to practice before a performance? And how important is it for a speaker? Do you have some hints for speakers how to prepare and how to practice?
Yes, and this is a question. It's a great question for me because I'm very passionate about this. First of all, yes, rehearsal and practice is integral to being good at anything. Okay, and of course, on an instrument, you spend hours and hours studying and practicing and going over fundamentals and over and over and over. But this is what I notice as my biggest pet peeve with speakers, and therefore what I see as the biggest opportunity is the fact that speakers don't practice enough. Speakers don't practice their speech. They don't go over it. They don't work on their platform skills. And so if they will do that, either by I'll do this in the basement, I'll just start talking and keep the tape running, because I never know when I'm going to say something that might accidentally be worthwhile. But seriously, to work on that, to view videos of your presentations and to review them. And that's hard because you see things and you go, oh, did I really say that? But that's what you need to say and to change.
It's interesting, if I can just jump in there, a coach and a mentor of mine in the early days said, Lindsay, every time you go to the refrigerator and you open the door, do a 5-minute vignette of one of your speeches. Practice a story or a point of wisdom or whatever.
In front of the fridge?
Yeah. Open the fridge, do a practice, just a couple of little minutes, and then go on with your life.
So to the milk and the
Yeah.
And if you can connect with milk, you got it.
I actually talk to the beer myself.
Very good.
Roger, you have been a very successful CEO, and you are a leader of many thousands of people, and you now speak to CEOs. What do you think? What is most important? Is it more the entertainment or more the education? And what is the best mixture here in the UK or in Europe?
It's really interesting question, Siggy, but particularly recently with what's been happening with the economic downturn and so on, people buy more rationally. And CEOs are buying more rationally. CEOs want ROI. They want a return on their investment, and they want to be able to see that in writing. And it means as a speaker, they're not interested in Chinese meal speakers, you know what I mean? You think you've had something good, but 2 hours later you need it again? They want speakers with content. They want speakers where the audience is going to retain the majority of what they say. So, everyone says, don't they, that the speakers, it's all about not only education, but entertainment and enthusing. That's what we've got to do, and that's what CEOs want.
How do you secure the output of a speech so that the people do what you said?
Well, again, I think we're in interesting times at the moment. Things are changing. I don't think any longer any speaker, no matter how good they are, can just fly into a booking, do their half an hour, three-quarters of an hour, and fly out again. You've got to do befores and afters these days, and the afters involve implementation sometimes. It involves coming back. I now, every booking I do, I say, I'm coming back in 6 weeks' time. What I say is it's about me to get a post-mortem. But in reality, it's often about how well they're implementing what I talked about. And in reality, often they want me to come back and help them with the implementation. So I think it's very different from what it used to be.
Okay. And doing that fosters accountability on their part.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Lindsay, in your case, what is for you most important? Is it more important to get further engagements to be best on stage, or is it more important to communicate with your customers regularly, professionally, to communicate what you offer and the value of what you offer?
I think certainly you need to be in constant contact with your prospects and your existing clients, but you need to be absolutely best on stage.
Yeah.
You go there, you give fantastic value, as Roger said, give them a return on their investment, and then the rest takes care of itself in some ways. You're good on stage, they will invite you back again and again and again. Now, to get good on stage, of course, you've got to do as we said, you have to practice, you've got to give them material, good content. So I think it is very important that it's kind of the combination of all.
Do you sell on stage, and how, if you do?
I have done. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. If I sell on stage, it's with the permission of the client. But certainly on stage, I would talk about some of the other things that I do. And so I'll try and pique some interest in maybe my other programs. And just to give you by way of example, 2 nights ago I spoke in Strasbourg in France. Now one of the large breweries has now made contact and said, wow, that was fantastic material. Can we talk some more about some work?
Okay.
So again, giving good value brings the return.
Yeah.
So what do you use to communicate with your customers? Like, is it a more flyer or more the personal contact, the website?
Well, look, it's a combination of all of those things. I have a website, of course. I have a regular electronic communication. I have a very short weekly email that goes out. You can read it on one page of you don't even need to open anything. It's there, all contained in that one space in your email. I'm in regular contact with my very best clients. I'll ring them up at least every 30 days. And I learned many, many years ago, 30, 60, 90 days. 30 days for your best clients, 60 days for the next level down, 90 days for everybody in your database. Keep in touch in some way every 90 days.
Okay. Mike, if you sell a speech, it's the most difficult thing, I think, is we sell something invisible. It's actually just a promise.
Yes.
And how do you secure that the customer or the prospect trusts what you promise?
Well, there's a couple ways. The best way that a customer can have that security, or as close as they're going to get to it, because the fact is they don't have it. They are trusting you, okay, when they make the deal. But they can back that up to a certain. They can hedge their bets by number one, referrals from other speakers, or word of mouth from someone else who's heard the program. Okay, because I would call it social proof. Mm-hmm. Someone else said, "Hey, the guy's great." They said, "Oh, this woman is fantastic. You've got to book her." Okay, and I have another way. Where, well, of course, videos. If they can see a video of it, they can get an idea of what you do. That's probably the best way. Yeah.
Okay. If you communicate with your customers, are you communicating more offline or online? How much do you use the internet, the social networks, in order to get in touch with?
I don't tend to use the social networks for discussion, for talking to my existing clients. I would tend to be using email. Again, often I'm talking across time zones, so email is often the easiest, together with Skype, phone calls. The other thing not to forget, I think, are electronic newsletters. They're so cheap, they're so easy to do, and they are the best marketing tool ever, because you can track what people are interested in. And I get additional work, but just by tracking a particular customer has been interested in a particular article, and I then contact him and say, I see you're interested, and work comes. So there's many ways of doing it, I think.
Are you using Twitter or Facebook for marketing?
I use them for communication, for contact. I haven't specifically gone out and say, hey, Mike's available for this or whatever as a specific marketing tool. However, for me, there's also a certain level, there's a fan base. And so you asked this, I just went upstairs and tweeted and did my Facebook update for fans, for people. And some of those fans are clients. And I think that what happens there, the great thing about that, regardless of whether you're specifically marketing or you're generally keeping in touch, is you want to create motion and the appearance that your career and things are happening.
Absolutely.
You want to create that sort of like, wow, this guy's doing this and this, or she's doing that and whatever,
Okay. Everybody here, I think, uses networking and cooperating in order to get in contact with customers. Roger, how do you do that? How do you do networking and cooperating, and what are the requirements in order to be successful in that?
I guess the one thing you need before you start networking is to get, I was going to say your elevator speech, but it's not an elevator speech, it's probably a blink speech. You've got to be able to say what you do for that guy who's talking to you instantly. I mean, in my case, I say, I improve the profitable growth of businesses. That's it. I think the second thing you need to have before you start networking is to keep your mouth shut. You are there to ask other people questions and to listen to them only when they come to you and say, well, what do you do? Then you say a bit, but not before. Otherwise, you've blown it.
It's a great point, and so doggone difficult for speakers.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We want to talk. Hello.
The best question I have learned to ask is, how can I help you?
Exactly.
Not so much, here's what I do, what would you like to buy? It's how can I help you? And oftentimes they go, and then that opens up a whole lot of other avenues to go down.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I genuinely go with the idea of serving, and then possibly maybe we'll have some interaction where I might benefit. But you know what? If you go there with the attitude of service and trying to help in some way, it really does reap rewards.
Sure.
And it's go ahead, jump in.
I was just going to say just one thing that just infuriates me when you're talking to someone is if they start looking over your shoulder, when they're networking, because they're looking for the next guy to talk to, and you think...
Yeah, well, and the other thing that I would say about that is when it comes to, for instance, my presentation is pretty stock. I mean, it's not. I apply it to absolutely everyone, but it's pretty much the same thing. I'm not going to go in there and say, I can incorporate this need and that need and reply to whatever. However, they still need to know that you're not mailing it in. They still need to know how can I be of service, even within the context. If you're a speaker who has a one speech, I mean, there's different types of speakers have different, some 40 programs, mine's one or two. And so you still need to go in with that attitude of service, and then find out how that fits into the thing that I do.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so right.
We are all here at the GSA convention, and you all contributed. Thank you for this.
Our pleasure.
But you all attended as well. Lindsay, you have visited many associations and conventions. What is your learning strategy if you go to such an event and learn to be better and to speak better?
Do we have a learning strategy?
Well,
that's a good term.
Yeah, that's an interesting question because when I went to my very first convention, I attended absolutely every session. I took thousands of notes and pages of stuff, and I had to be there. You know what? These days, I've been to so many conventions now, and I get a little more choosy these days. And I think about, okay, what have I come for, and what's the issue that I want to work on for me and my business? Now, is it to see a Mike Rayburn and go, wow, okay, how does he command the room? Yeah. And how could I command the room in my presentation? Now, Mike plays the guitar. I don't. However, I watched him very carefully this morning to see, what he did and how he related to the audience and how he used the tool to connect with us.
Whether he really was playing it.
Well, I'm sure there was a tape.
I'm sure there was.
But so I get really clear, focused in about what's the learning for me, and I try to take home one or two just good pieces of learning. And already I've collected two brilliant ideas just in the last 24 hours here in Mannheim.
So focusing and selecting is the strategy.
I had somebody once told me, if you can go to a conference and you take lots of notes, like you said, and you hear all these different presentations and ideas and things, if you go home and say, choose one idea and implement that one, no matter whatever else you do, this is going to happen. Make this happen, then you will benefit from it.
Absolutely.
Because most of us don't. We take those notes, we go, oh, well, this is great, and we stick them in a drawer, and they stay there.
So, do you learn more at the German convention as foreigners, as people from abroad, or do you learn more from people working in the same area? Same country?
No, not at all. If I may, I've been to each of the global summits, as probably you have as well, Lindsay, where speakers are there from everywhere. And you just learn from everyone. I mean, every nation has a different approach, maybe, different backgrounds, different everything. And that's what's so fascinating. It's just watching people and listening to people. You always get something.
And you get a little less inbred by by getting greater information, because what I learned over here, or what I learned in Canada, or what I'm going to learn in Australia, and wherever, I bring that back to the States. And that's going to help me in incredible ways, in ways that others that are maybe in competition with me further won't have.
Well, at the end, we are here to meet either clients to talk to or other speakers who should refer us to their clients. How do you have a method or a means or whatever, a strategy in order to get other speakers recommend you, or in order to get a client book you here or afterwards?
For other speakers and for all of the above, it still goes back to be good. Be great at what you do every time. But I have sort of a thing that I've worked out, a strategy for doing this. I have two people in particular. There's a few others in peripheral, but two people in particular. One is a keynote artist and one is a comedian, because I'm booked sometimes just for entertainment, got comedy and guitar, and sometimes with the keynote with the message. And so I have one person who is a similar presenter, okay, very entertainment based, but has a good content and is usually an opening or closing keynote, which is usually what I do. And my goal when I go into a program is I want the client later to go, how in the world are we going to follow this next year? Okay? And when they say that, I go, I have an idea for you. And I refer, and I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I refer this person, either the comedian or the every time. And this same person does the same for me. And so when they say, wow, what in the world? And to really prove that, to sell the invisible, here's the way I say it. I say, book this guy. If you don't like him, I'll pay his fee.
Sure.
Wow. And they'll go, wow, that's a statement. Yeah. And this is someone that I know.
So his fee
delivers every time.
$5.50?
Yeah.
So the secret, you've seen my bank account.
The secret is to not to get your network too large, just to focus on some people.
Oh, no, it's not wrong to get a lot of people talking about it. That's great. I mean, that's always going to be good. But in who you refer, and who refers you, that's great. In who you refer, you've got to be very careful, because that's a reflection on you. And I made that mistake a long time ago, and I will not make it again.
Okay. It's like, in the Far East, if you introduce someone, you take a personal responsibility for them.
Yes.
I see it the same. A referral, there's nothing better than a referral from a speaker. You've done a good gig, and the client takes your advice. And if you're introducing another speaker, it isn't just about their speaking ability, it's also about how they handle that client, and whether their business acumen is right and all that bit.
The entire experience.
And therefore, I'm very careful indeed to absolutely understand that speaker, understand how he or she operates before I refer them. Or have them refer me, to be honest, because sometimes that can go awry.
You're transferring your credibility to them.
Absolutely.
And vice versa.
Yep.
So
it's very important. Yeah. You've got to have seen them speak, and you've got to see how they operate. Yeah.
So, except of your websites, what do you use in order to communicate with your clients? Do you all have flyers, or is it just a business card, or?
It depends on the client. For speakers bureaus, because we market to the people who market us. I came up with a way of doing a postcard, but very rarely. Because there's some speakers who are calling every week, and they're calling every day, hey, got any more bookings for me, or whatever, and the bureaus don't like that. We came up with a card, and we realized, bureaus are about money. And so we sent a card that said, in 2004, Mike Rayburn generated X number of dollars for speakers bureaus. In 2005, he will generate X number of dollars for speakers bureaus. Be a part of 2006. And we just sent it to everyone.
That's great.
And we would do things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
In your case?
Yeah, I think it's for me. It's about the relationship. So I'm in close touch with a few people who promote me. So it's very much about they know and understand what I do. So they are capable of selling me to a third party.
Yeah.
Okay.
And indeed, very much what Lindsay was saying earlier about networking, which is I'm contacting them and asking if I can help them. Something I've been doing or been saying to people to do in these times. You know, some people are suffering a bit at the moment. And what I've said is ring every client you've had in the last 3 years and just say the words, "What can I do for you?" You'll be surprised at the results, you know?
Well, I'll like add one other thing. I find that I want to focus on working on the art form as much as possible, since that was really what it's about for me. And so I have an agent or marketing director who keeps in touch with all the clients for me.
Right.
Now it's not instead of me. If they want to talk to me, I am absolutely available. But I have him doing that, and you have to be very careful in who you choose to do this. But he's absolutely brilliant. I've worked with him for 14 years. His name is Josh Wainwright, and that's a really good way to do that.
That's brilliant.
Yes,
but it's another interesting point there. Having, as you have, Siggy, dealt with booking speakers, I can think of one speaker in particular who I was contacting, and that guy, the equivalent of your Josh, just kept sending me his fee rates all the time, never answering the question, and I just couldn't get to the guy, and you give up in the end. So you've got to be very careful. You've still got to be accessible. You can't just have that gatekeeper that stops people getting to you.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for sharing your experience with us and contributing to this great convention. We are honored and very proud having you here, and I hope all of you can use these experiences and this knowledge for a better business in your home. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.